He-Man.
Who's the big guy with the muscles?
He's He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Skeletor is his enemy.
He-Man.
Introducing He-Man, Skeletor, and Castle Grayskull.
You're doomed, He-Man.
Oh yeah? Watch this action, Dad. Now I have the power.
He-Man, Skeletor, and Castle...
In today's toy market, we're used to action figures being accompanied by a marketing juggernaut. There's typically an animated television series, a video game tie-in, advertising on the side of buses, a run of short novels, and all manner of accompanying products to ensure marketing dominance. However, back in the 1980s, all this wasn't so common, at least until the creation of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Now, 40 years on, this macho action figure has become the blueprint for launching a new line of toys to market. However, the story of He-Man actually begins in the 1970s, as Mattel was trying to create its own line of fantasy figures, inspired by the success of Conan the Barbarian. Plus, it's likely that there were some regrets about Mattel's CEO, Ray Wagner, turning down the opportunity to produce toys based on Star Wars, which famously went to Kenner instead. So with Kenner having the stranglehold on sci-fi, Mattel turned to fantasy. Although the initial creation of He-Man was still debated, Roger Sweet, a lead designer working for Mattel's preliminary design department, has stated it was him that came up with the concept. According to Sweet, he presented 3 large-scale prototype models to Ray Wagner at the Mattel Product Conference. These prototypes were based on the existing Big Jim, a line of larger muscle-bound action figures, partly inspired by G.I. Joe, and included an axe-wielding barbarian, a tank-headed soldier, and a spaceman. Wagner chose the barbarian as the basis for the line. The initial lineup of the toys was completed in 1981 and sold in the US in 1982. The first characters released were He-Man and his arch-enemy Skeletor, along with Man-at-Arms, Beastman, and Battle Cat. The standard action figures were 5.5 inches and mostly made of rubber and plastic, ensuring that they would be durable for the most vigorous of play sessions. Some had special action features, such as a punch action, which was triggered by twisting the figure at the waist. Increasingly, although the figures looked very different to each other, for example, Skeletor has a blue-purple body and a face that's a skull, compared to Beastman, who is orange with his ape-like face, they actually share many of the same parts. The initial lineup consisted of only 2 differently modelled chests, 1 pair of shorts, and 3 sets of arms. These were then mixed together and created slightly different combos. Although new elements were added over the years, Mattel continued to mix and match body parts to create different figures. With the toys ready, Mattel needed to market them to kids and explain the story about why He-Man was duking it out with a dude that had a skull for a face. Initially, Mattel created a series of small comics that came with each action figure. Conceived by Mattel marketing director Mark Ellis, the first run was written by Donald F. Glut, who had worked with both DC and Marvel, amongst others, accompanied by artwork from Alfred Akala, another veteran of Marvel. There were 4 comics to begin with: He-Man and the Power Sword, The King of Castle Grayskull, Battle in the Clouds, and The Vengeance of Skeletor. Although the main characters were present, the story differed slightly from the latest animated series, and He-Man doesn't even have his alter ego, Prince Adam. There was just one problem: Toys R Us didn't like the idea of comic books. In a later interview, Ellis claimed that while presenting to Toys R Us, he was told, 5-year-olds don't read. However, thinking on his feet, Ellis explained they had a TV series to accompany the toys too. There was just one problem: there was no TV series. Ellis quickly had to get on the phone to see if he could rustle up a show. Hanna-Barbera said no, but thankfully, Filmation said yes. Based in California, Filmation was no stranger to kids' TV, having produced the likes of the Superman Aquaman Hour of Adventure, The Adventure of Batman, and The New Adventures of Flash Gordon, amongst many others. Initially, American channels ABC, CBS and NBC all passed on the typical Saturday morning cartoon slot, which forced Filmation to turn to syndication during the week instead. An incredible 65 episodes were produced in the first season alone and beamed into homes across America. It was the first cartoon that was specifically made to show 5 days a week, which undoubtedly contributed to its success as kids were pretty much force-fed He-Man as soon as they got home from school. Despite the rocky start in December 1984, the New York Times reported that the height of Masters of the Universe had 9 million views every day. That was only in the United States. The show was being broadcast across 166 US television networks and in 37 foreign countries. However, perhaps due to the sheer amount of episodes, interest began to wane in Masters of the Universe fairly quickly. The final episode, The Diamond Ray of Disappearance, aired in September 1983, just 1 year after He-Man first arrived on screens in his iconic loincloth. Although the television may have come to an end in 1983, that didn't stop Mattel pumping out the toys. 6 lines of action figures were released between 1982 and 1987, 88 in certain parts of Europe, totaling 70 products, including 23 creatures, 6 playsets and 10 accessories. This means there are plenty of options for potential He-Man collectors to get their teeth into. As you might expect, original versions of He-Man and his arch-enemy Skeletor are typically the most sought after. A graded He-Man sold at heritage auctions in 2022 for $4,750, while Skeletor made $5,000 in the same auction. Though it's worth noting UK prices are a little more reasonable, and a graded He-Man sold at Vectis auctions for £580 in 2020.
Okay, one last time. These are small, but the ones out there are far away. Small, far away. Ah, forget it.
Cut. If you cut it, cut.